Hi everyone, this is Kate McGarry, and I wanted to show you how I was planning to integrate PhET simulations into Pear Deck. These are two of my favorite teaching tools. Pear Deck has become one since the pandemic started, and as a physics teacher, PhET has been invaluable since I first started teaching and it became accessible. So it turns out you can embed one of these into another. So I'm going to show you how to embed, how I might use this. I'm going to use this simulation called Balancing Act, which shows various objects, and I'm going to integrate it into what might be an interactive lecture in an AP Physics 1 class. All right, so this is what the slides look like. So in this, I might just have like a lecture slide where they learn about a specific thing. So here's a concept, torque, and balance. What makes two things that are on an object that can rotate balance each other. And this is perfect to go with the simulation. A lot of times just in lecture slides, you might want to use like screenshots from PhET anyway. But specifically what I'd like students to do is to be able to, rather than just solving a problem, to make a prediction about something that's going to happen and then go into PhET and try it out. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Pear Deck. And I'm actually going to have this slide in here twice. So in the first one, I'm going to ask them to write about it. And I'm going to add an interactive writing question. And so this one might be where they make a prediction. Then in the second one, I'm going to go in, and Pear Deck has an option to embed a website. So in this one, I'm going to use a specific PhET trick where you can embed one particular slide. So here's what I mean. If you go into the PhET Balancing Act simulation, you'll see that there's actually multiple screens. Now, I don't want to use the intro or the game with my students, and I don't want them to be distracted by that. So instead, I'm just going to choose Balancing Act, the second one. You'll notice that the URL doesn't change, but what you can do, so I'm going to embed just the second screen here. All right, we're back in the slideshow. So now that we've picked which screen we want to embed, what we're going to do is we are going to add a website. There's going to be a pop-up from Pear Deck. And in order to pick just that screen, I'm going to add a question mark at the end. I'm going to do screens equal. Now there is screen 1, 2, and 3. I only want the balance one. So I'm going to do screen 2 and update that slide. Now the thing is that when you look at this, you're not going to see the embedding. What the students are going to see is a side-by-side view of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the lesson and then cut over so you can see what does the student view of this look like. Here we go. So it asks them, how are you feeling today? And it's going to load the presentation. Now I went directly to this slide. So they can see the question on one side of the screen, and on the other side of the screen, they can now play around with this. And so they can go, like I've shown them a picture of what they need to do. So you could put students into breakout rooms or something like that, but they might just try out, how are you going to measure how are you going to balance these two people out? Maybe you have to have one of them closer than the other. And so that might be something to observe. So you give them a couple minutes to do that, and then you would move on. Let's go back to our slides. And end the session. All right, so this can be used for a lot of different things. You can see that they see it side by side. When you're embedding a problem like this, you may want to make your font larger because especially on a small Chromecast or on a small Chromebook screen, one of these, like your slide will end up kind of squished. You don't want to have a lot of detail on there. So then you can always go back and reuse it. So in this case, I only asked them to do one thing. The nice thing about having them make a prediction in one slide is that they can't just immediately check their prediction before making it. They're forced to use their knowledge to make that prediction first. I can show, in this case, I might show them how to work this out, not just by trying it out, but also using equations to solve it. And then we could use it again. So I noticed that in the Balancing Act, there were objects of unknown size. And so I thought, in AP Physics 1, they're often asked to design an experiment. So maybe they have to design an experiment using the mystery objects. So I could go back and use that same URL to add another slide on here. And in this case, I'm using the same one, but you could probably think of a reason why you might want to have them play the game instead of and then you could embed a different tab from PhET. So I'm just going to go in and add this website again. Put in my second screen. And now they're going to go back to the same screen. Unfortunately, with PhET, you can't send them to do a specific thing. So you might need to walk through your students what they're going to do in order to find those specific objects if you wanted to do something. So that's it for how you might use PhET in a science class, embedded into a synchronous or asynchronous activity. And I hope it was enjoyable.